What is up, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions. I am your host, Emilio Lopez, and I am joined by Carlos Romero,
Yo, what's going on?
Mr. Richard Bailey Jr.,
What's up, everybody?
Brian Manjoma,
What's up?
and Mr. Brett Murdoch. I know I messed up the order, but I like it that way. No, Brett.
Oh,
What up, people?
So yeah, we have things to go. Obviously, Tony's going to be out for a little while, handling personal business with the family and stuff. He may, there's a little bit of an addendum to a lot of that that's going to happen. There's some good news in there. You may be seeing Tony a lot more in all of this. It just all depends on the situation of what's going on with his mom. So, but there is good news, from the doctors and stuff like that. So, but he, obviously this one he's pretty tired and he's pretty beat. So, he was going to show up on this episode, but he decided to take this one out. But as always, we our thoughts are always with his mom and Tony. So we got some questions. We're doing some Throwdown Your Questions, and not much to vamp around here. We got a little bit of questions here or there. Not a lot, but obviously. What's up, Carlos?
yeah. If anyone in the chat has any questions throughout the show, please let us know, and then we'll add them to the show notes and get those answered. So yeah.
Yep. So
But we do got some controversial questions.
Yeah, we got some big ones, but I mean, because of certain games that just lost. But I think we should just get right into this one, and it's a good thing that
Is it very controversial or just a little controversial?
maybe a little bit controversial, maybe.
It's a little controversial that serves a larger narrative.
Yes. Hell yeah. So yeah, I guess we just get this one started. So the first one's from Alpha Chuck.
All right, Alpha Chuck. Shout out to Alpha Chuck. He asks, let's address the Dragon's Dogma controversy. The game has been receiving very different Steam reviews than we saw from the critics, mainly due to the reveal of multiple microtransactions and in-game items. Many reviews accuse Capcom of limiting in-game features in order to sell more of these items for real-world money. I understand not liking the practice of microtransactions in full-price games on principle, but think the game was designed with these items being scarce on purpose, similar to Dragon's Dogma 1. If you think the items are a waste of money, don't buy them. What are the panel's thoughts, especially Brian?
For Dragon's Dogma, I'm not like fully familiar with a lot of the way their transaction system works, but I do know for sure a lot of the things that are already those things that they're offering as microtransactions are things that are available within the game. But I mean, to be honest, I don't have that much of an issue if it's something like if it's like a fast track like thing. Like, in other words, like, okay, like I remember years ago, what was that game? Dante's Inferno. A lot of EA games had this, where in other words, even Dead Space had it, where in other words, you could pay like a little fee to get all, to max out your character or whatever, instead of having to play the game over and over and over again, or, do all that sort of stuff. So, I don't have an issue if it's a problem, if it's something that you can already lock in the game. But what are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I didn't know there was a controversy because you guys know, I haven't played Dragon's Dogma 2 or 1, so I'm not too sure of how all these systems work. But that's been the talk of on Twitter. It's like people sending screenshots of all these things that you can purchase on Dragon's Dogma 2. It's like these things that are part of the game, and potentially how the developers are making these things a little bit less attainable, or a lot more less attainable, in order to make more money on the back end from these microtransactions. But I don't know, Brian. What do you think? What do you think about this? Because you're Mr. Dogma in the panel. Do you agree with some of the narratives going on, or is it just a lot of fugazi people trying to rile something up just to stir up the controversy boat?
It's a weird one because I can't agree with both sides in this. Because looking at what the microtransactions are, and there's quite a lot of them, the one that sticks out the most are the rift crystals, which is the currency to get the pawns. So as you get better pawns, well, as better pawns appear to you in the game, they cost more. So the fact that you can buy that currency is an issue. However, you do get it in game as you just go through the game and do stuff. So there's also that part. And the other thing that is weird to me are the wake stones. So fast travel is not free. It's through a currency known as wake stones. And the fact that they're being sold is kind of like, it's kind of a bit irksome because again, in the first game, I think you needed 5 shards to make one wake stone, and even then they were quite rare to come across. It's only towards the end game could you actually get quite a lot of them. By a lot, I mean like 5 wake stones. So there's that, and even to use them, you need a port crystal, which is like a marker to where you want to fast travel to. So the idea is that you go to a place, you put down the port crystal, and then you go to like another place, and then you can use the wake stone to teleport to the crystal. So it's like a set point you can go to, and you can't just zip around the map as you wish. So the fact that these items are all paid for is kind of a bit weird to me that they do that. But at the same time, looking at Capcom's other games, like DMC5 and Monster Hunter, they seem to be doing the same thing in that with DMC5 you could purchase orbs, and as you know, orbs are pretty much XP in that game. So it's just a very strange one to me. Like, I understand the idea that this is stuff that should not be in the game. Like, you shouldn't have the ability to purchase stuff to make the game like this. I understand that, but at the same time, most of these things seem like stuff you can just get through the game, and that's what kind of puts me in both roads, because I don't like the fact that they exist. They shouldn't exist. It's weird that they do exist, but at the same time, if it's stuff that you can get through the game with a relative ease, then I think that should be fine. But even then, it doesn't justify them being in there. So I'm more in the camp of they shouldn't be there rather than I don't mind. Yeah. Again, I'm always just a bit annoyed whenever companies do stuff like this, where they just throw out lots of meaningless stuff. Like, I can understand if it's more stuff like Monster Hunter, where you could, because with Monster Hunter's DLCs, it's more outfits, right? So you can get this outfit, get this emote. That I can understand as being paid for. It doesn't change the game. Like, you being able to emote someone breakdancing like a windmill does not change Monster Hunter. Makes sense. But if you were able to get, I don't know, like no gigante parts within like low rank, that does change the game, Right. So it's kind of a case of I only don't mind if it's stuff that doesn't change the game and the game experience. If it's cosmetic, and some of this stuff doesn't seem to be cosmetic. I mean, well, literally one of them is a key to get out of jail faster, which is kind of a bit weird. Like, why would you have that there? Like, the whole point is you set up the universe to exist within certain rules, and these things just seem to exist to circumvent those rules that you've made. So even that is me questioning why do they exist?
Yeah. It definitely gets to like this pretty big gray area where at some points in some games these microtransactions seem pretty benign in the way that they exist, but it can easily get to a point where uh, for example, that key that you mentioned to get out of jail, like if Capcom decides to make the game in a way where it's difficult to attain these keys and it's pretty common to get into jail or something like that, then it sort of leads people in a way to, pay for aspects of the game where they're just manipulating to make the money there. And you get to this huge gray area of things. Like I'm the same way as you. If you're gonna make like these costumes and stuff like that, like fashion souls type things, payable, fine by me. These skins and all that stuff. But when you're putting key items, in-game currency, and all that stuff as DLC, that's a big red flag, because it's not there. It's not there because it enhances the game. It's there because of greed. And I don't know if there's an argument against that. But yeah, that's the way I see it. So it's crazy. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of good stuff from Dragon's Dogma. Just a lot of people posting things, but it sucks that a lot of people, especially on Steam, haven't been too happy about it. I checked the Steam reviews, and it's a mixed, which is pretty bad for a game that's kind of highly regarded, review wise. So I'm just interested to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, most definitely. You got Richard, got anything on that one, or were you guys like, whatever?
Richard, Richard likes to pay for microtransactions.
Oh no!
He's like, I'll pay $1,000 to get out of jail free card.
No.
I'm not sure who Carlos is talking about. Must be another Richard. Here's the thing. I do have the game. I haven't had a chance to play it this weekend, so I am going to play it so I can see what all the controversy is about. I would hope that I would think a microtransaction is okay if it's a cosmetic stuff that you can do for your character, but if this is something that impacts your progress in the game, well, I can understand why there's some people complaining about it. But I haven't played it yet, so I don't know how severe the issue is. But I will say I'm very interested in checking it out, and I'm going to make sure I have something to say about the game for sure on the next time we record the show.
So here's my question. Maybe I'll play devil's advocate here a little bit. But so it seems like the big controversy here seems to be a lot of the people doing their review codes didn't really know about a lot of this microtransaction stuff when they were doing their reviews, right? So that therefore it kind of feels dishonest, and I don't disagree with that. It kind of puts bad flavor in your mouth. But that being said, doesn't that also mean that the people who played these games played it without any of the microtransaction items, and they got along just fine? It's not so much that there's things that have such low scarcity that it ruins your game if you don't buy the DLC. I get that some people want shortcuts, but it sounds fully playable and fully enjoyable from the review scores that I've been hearing without that DLC stuff as well. So that, to me at least, seems like the silver lining. It seems highly disingenuous to wait to try and sneak that in just before launch after the game has been given good reviews. But it also seems like even without the DLC stuff, people, the reviewers are enjoying themselves. So that's good. I also haven't jumped on the bandwagon, so can't really commit much. But I think I'm definitely gonna. I think all of us are at least to the point of yeah, I think I'm gonna give this new version of Dragon's Dogma a go. So we'll let you know.
So the original did the original game have something similar to this or no?
I don't think it did.
In what sense? The microtransactions? Or
Yeah,
systems?
it didn't have anything like this previously on the previous one, right?
Microtransactions.
No.
Yeah, microtransactions.
No, in terms of microtransactions, no. Systems seem to be very, very similar. But yeah, microtransactions, no. Just checked on the Steam page and there's just nothing.
Interesting. All right. Well, we'll see how this one rolls out. I guess if the stink gets gets too loud of it, I'm sure. I mean, has Capcom ever pivoted on anything like these before? Like, in other words, enough of the fan outcry, and you just said, we've heard your thing, and we've decided to remove this feature or something.
I don't think they have, because the last thing that I remembered was in Monster Hunter Rise, you could get weapon. I think they were like plushy weapons. So rather than being standard metal, iron, or what type weapons, they were like made of plushies and made that plushy sound. And they were slightly better than standard weapons. So by definition, they were paid to win. So there was that massive, well, I say massive controversy. That rocked the community, but I don't remember them issuing any statement or even removing them. So I think Capcom will just be Capcom.
Oh, interesting. We'll see how this one rolls out. There's look, Alpha Chuck actually has another question about Dragon's Dogma.
Yes. He asks, Dragon's Dogma 2 is not the first Capcom single-player game to sell in-game microtransactions. Most recently, the RE4 remake, Resident Evil 4 remake, sold a slew of items that would make the game easier and did not receive the same amount of negative attention. Why do you think the perspective is different for Dragon's Dogma?
I mean, Brian did sort of mention somewhat similar in the Monster Hunter Rise game.
I think it could just be a situation where this is the straw that broke the camel's back. Because again, as you said, well, Capcom have been doing this. It's in Monster Hunter World and Rise. It's in RE4. I don't know if it's an RE3 or not. And it's in DMC5 as well. I mean, you can literally pay to unlock Virgil. So, it's a big difference. So maybe it's just a case of people are just tired of it now, and they just reached a point where it's like, you know what, like, why is this even here? You know what, I'm done with this. I make my voice be heard. Which, from my point of view, is totally understandable. As someone who loves the franchise, I still agree that, yeah, if people are just tired of something, then they should make their voice heard. And if that's by down-rating a game on Steam, do it.
Yeah, I feel like it.
I am advocating people to downvote the game that I love because of principle.
That's fair. I mean, a lot of people felt this way for Assassin's Creed. I mean, people could have asked, like, what's the straw that broke the Assassin's Creed back? I mean, they released like all these different Assassin's Creed that did a million different things, and I think Valhalla was the last straw. And I mean, there was nothing special about Valhalla. It was the most recent one that came out that plunged everyone to a consensus critical criticism of the franchise. And same thing with this with it's not a franchise, but it's a Capcom thing. And also RE4 is a remake, so I guess it's less controversial in that aspect, because a lot of people don't take remakes sort of as serious as fully fledged release games like a DMC5 or a Monster Hunter World or Dragon's Dogma 2. So I think that adds to that aspect as well.
Yeah, all right. Sounds good to me. To be like, yeah, we'll wait and see, right? It seems like the consensus here. So
we can go to
yeah.
We can go to a question by Kishak. Oh, before that though, shout out to Gary Swaby, who's in the chat.
Oh yeah.
And shout out to Fergus Mills.
Yeah,
always
just in general.
Gary Swaby's in the chat.
Oh yeah, he did show up for I think he still might be here.
Damn, because I know what time it is there. Well, here, and so I'm like, okay.
So Kishak asked the question in the chat. He says, "Question in case tonight is." Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was actually gonna put his after Mr. Bushido, J Shep. But
okay, we can ask J Shep's next.
Yeah.
All right, let's go with that one. All right, J Shep. Shout out to J Shep. He asks, will there be an AI technology that can translate foreign subbed games to the language of our choice and read subbed text during cutscenes of a game for gamers? So essentially, will there be AI to translate foreign sub games to the language of their choice? And I think that
they're already
technology
doing
already
that.
exists. Yeah, I think it already
is.
exists.
I mean, that's the one, like obviously people are all sort of up in arms about all the AI stuff, but as far as like an AI that can like read that can essentially read like do a really decent text thing, that might be interesting because they have and this obviously will put a lot of people out of work, but you can literally have like we were talking about the Yakuza series, right? And how they had Yang and a couple of other guys from obviously a lot they have it localized here. That there's like, so with this situation they've proven that they can literally translate something to an alternate language using the same voice that the language in question. So in other words, the main character could literally sound like himself but speaking English, which is kind of nutty.
Yes. I mean, there's one interesting anecdote that I've seen, and Jay, I'll do you one further above subs. There's this famous Mexican YouTuber, right? He's like a travel YouTuber. He does like all these stuffs, goes to different countries and talks about different things. He has videos in English that I guess he does speak English, but it's like really bad. But his voice is AI generated. So he's a Mexican YouTuber who speaks Spanish, who uses AI to translate his voice to English. So all of his videos are done in English, which is crazy. And that's, and subtitles, it's a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
But we can't even do voice now.
The one thing about localization, when it comes to localization, is partially it obviously it takes a person, or somebody to make that decision as to the order of words and what things can be said and cannot be said and still won't sound weird. So usually that's what that's what direct translation doesn't really work for most languages. If you were to translate Japanese as is, all of the the predicates and the verbs and stuff, they're all moved around and they have to be reordered so that they make sense sense in an alternate language. So the thing is that with an AI you can theoretically have that done, but I also think that at the same time it also still needs a little bit of people to, still needs a person's, mind to be like, hey, no, that still doesn't make any sort of sense. Let's turn that around. Let's change that a little bit. But it's definitely, most definitely, that sort of thing could definitely put a lot of, especially a lot of that localization stuff out of, lessen localization around a little bit, because again, what for a smaller studio, will they hire a localization studio who might end up being expensive, or will they just use an AI to essentially translate, to localize it in English and then do it that way? I suspect there's a game called Thunder Ray. That game, I think, is one of those cases. Because if you ever listen to the voice acting in that game, there's no voice actors that are listed in there. And sometimes the voices sound a little bit robotic. It's only really one guy talking in that game. And sometimes he sounds a little bit dry. And his voice also sounds the same in different languages. So I don't know. No voice actors like it's mentioned, and then it just has a robotic sounding voice. So my guess is they might have just used an AI model on top of that to translate it and speak the words. Which there are a lot of YouTubers right now that are like what you just said, Carlos, that are literally having whole videos just their whole scripts read out by, they've trained the AI on their own voice and they just have that read whatever their script is. So.
Yeah. Fergus Mills says AI will use Troy Baker and Jennifer Hale's voices for every character in every game.
That'd be hilarious. But I definitely think it would probably be a situation where they train it. If they do train an AI voice, it'll probably be trained off of the voice actor of the language who it belongs to, and see what they come out with that.
Mhm.
If they ever decide to use that sort of thing. So it's definitely going to be an interesting, weird, and also kind of screwy place, because again, there's so many jobs that get affected by this sort of stuff. The fact that you could literally just like toss like, but yeah, like, and you know that the bigger studios are going to probably use something like that to essentially cut their costs. You know, it's much cheaper to essentially get an AI to do a character than to just have it, you know, than to just have the whole process behind it. So who knows what the future will hold.
Mr. J Shep asked if
I was gonna say
yes, if I can recommend something that software that translate video games, and I don't know personally, but I have, I mean, for example, YouTube does try to do auto translate in their site. Not good, but you know, they even have that software, but I don't know which one they use.
So crazy thing, like for text, for a while I've been slowly but surely playing a game called X Troopers for PlayStation 3, right? And that game never came out in the States. So, but what I've been using is actually I've been using Google Translate. If you have Google Translate on your phone, you can literally put it up on the screen, and you know it'll instantly, you know, if you take the photo, it'll instantly translate it for you to look at. And then if you use the text to speech on your phone, you could literally have it read to you. So I've done that. Well, not the text to speech part, but just so that I can know what's going on. I'll do a quick thing, and then it'll just show you what it looks like in the language of choice. So these things sort of do exist. It's just obviously text to speech on the iPhones and the Google devices. It's not like super amazing sounding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more robotic sort of type sounding things.
Yeah. Well, one thing speaking of the text to speech stuff, what I did use it for was, because you know how like in Death Stranding there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of side reading, and you have to sort of stop your game to essentially read all these emails and all these other dealies that are in there. All I would do is I would do that. I'd take a picture of all the little things, and I would just listen to whatever the thing is while I'm walking around in the game. So I'm still gathering this information about the plot while continuing to move the game forward. So it sort of like, because it's like just stopping and like, okay, now I got to spend, you know, reading time with this thing. Might as well just like, you know, you take a couple photos and you throw it into Google Translate. Now the new iPhones actually do that now too, where you can take a picture of text and you can instantly cut and paste it or have the text to speech read it. So you just do that.
Yep. All right, let's go to the next question for Mr. J Shep. He asks, will the PS5 Pro have a better launch lineup than the PS5?
Yeah. Can I answer this question?
Yes.
Hell no, it will not. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens, you know.
I mean, man, you got Stellar Blade, you got nothing. Yeah, speaking of Stellar Blade, when is that? There was a demo that was supposedly out, wasn't there? Didn't they? Or they pulled it?
Well, there was
remember.
Yeah, they pulled the demo.
Yeah, a demo came out like 2 weeks ago, and it came out for like 2 seconds, and then it got pulled. I saw it online. People were posting. I think it was on Discord or somewhere online. They were posting, "Oh, Stellar Blade demo's out." I'm like, bet. Let me download it on my PS5. I couldn't freaking see it. And then I checked back online. I was like, oh, it was pulled. I was like, damn.
I wonder if that demo is going to come out when the game comes out. I know. By the way, I've noticed there's quite a bit of games that are releasing demos, which is pretty interesting. I mean, granted, Dragon's Dogma just put out the character creator in there, but there's a couple other games I'm like, oh, this one actually has a demo to it. Interesting.
I heard you have to pay for a couple of bucks to play the Dragon's Dogma 2 demo. That's a joke.
Whoa,
Man, I
whoa,
didn't pay
whoa,
shit.
whoa.
I didn't pay shit. I made my
Uh,
my pawn and my other thing, and that's it. I'm like, yay.
Yeah, people got pretty creative with that tool.
Oh man, you've seen some of the posts for that? Like they literally made like was it Gandalf the Grey, Neo, Tom Cruise, like really good looking like that whatever their character creators really well done. Like they have enough like, you know, facial information to sort of make these different sort of faces, which looked really good. Oh, by the way, this is a fun one. So, you know, Hideki Kamiya, right? I follow him on like Instagram, and he started posting his Dragon's Dogma person, and he literally just made it look exactly like himself. It looked exactly like him. if you're on
Interesting.
Instagram, if you look for Hideki Kamiya, he posts more on there than he does on Twitter, by the way.
Manny, Jay mentioned the chat, and I just checked, and he's right. Your voice is a little bit low on the stream.
Oh, okay.
So if you can
I can
pick up a little bit of the gain.
I can turn up myself a little bit more. How am I sounding now? Am I good?
I'm monitoring.
I mean, I've got a lot of good stuff on my end here.
Yeah, you sound. I mean, you sound better on that one. Yep.
Okay, it says better. Yay! There we go. Yeah, I don't know why I'm. Yeah, I don't know why I'm. I mean, last time, because the funny thing last time is like the last time I did the stream from my side of the things, I was coming out super loud. So I had myself turned down. But anyway, good stuff. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So as far as the PS5 Pro launch, like I mentioned, my theory has always been and will remain until Sony says something. Last of Us 2 remake. They're going to use that to promote that console.
Carlos, that is an unacceptable answer to the question because
Oh.
that game, they better not be talking about that game as, we've added more to the game for PS5 Pro. I will be very disappointed if that is the case. I do want to say one other comment though, because of course we have to look at how these companies view launch lineup. When they think of a launch, they mean within the first 12 months of the console releasing. So Sony has already said they're going to be releasing a ton of major franchise games next year. So I think if they do release the PS5 Pro in the fall, as it's rumored, there probably won't be a game coming in that until spring 2025 that actually is a new game. It may just be updates made, I guess, performance updates or patch updates to whatever games they have already released for PS5. But in any event, I don't know what game, like I had mentioned on the last show, I don't know what game they think they're going to release that's going to make somebody need and want to get a PS5 Pro. So I'm curious to see which direction they're going to take that in.
And especially like what is going to be the key thing to get people to like, okay, yeah, this is why I need to own this thing, because it's like just like anything, it's like seeing is believing. Okay, and like we've had the theory that it would be Grand Theft Auto, right? Like whatever time the Grand Theft Auto comes out, that this PS5 Pro would be a better fit for it, but you know, at least from what the folks at Digital Foundry and a couple of other outlets have been saying, and obviously us within our show have been saying, it's like the bottleneck is the CPU in general. So will it be able to pull it off? And then obviously they have their new AI upscaling tech going on. What I think is called PSSS or something like that. I can't remember what the name of it was, but you know. We shall see, said the blind man.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I'm not too confident, but I'm always open to be proven wrong. But we'll see.
Well, wait a sec.
Yeah.
Well, hold on a second. What about Death
Oh.
Stranding 2? Aren't you guys looking forward to Death Stranding 2?
Well, that's 2025. I mean,
that's
that's
2025.
and we still need a delay to go through to the bacon delay.
I mean, Kojima never really had to delay a game before, but at the same time, it's like, would Death Stranding 2 be a really good showcase for it? I mean, at least from the visuals that I've seen on it, it doesn't look that much of a difference from the previous one. And what are they going to add? What what is it? Ray tracing, because Death Stranding, the original one, didn't have ray tracing, and it didn't have ray tracing when they ported it to the PC or put it on the PS5 version. All it did was it just ran a little bit better than the previous one. So I don't expect Death Stranding to be like this explosion of graphical fidelity. It looks fine as is, but doesn't look any better than the previous. But moving on.
All right, let's go to the next question, which is going to be from Mr. Fergus Mills. Shout out to Fergus Mills. His first question is, what are some games with scenes or storyline moments so good or bad that they made you get on the internet to seek out forums, Reddit boards, Twitter threads, etc., to engage in dialogue about what happened in the game?
I mean, I wouldn't say it was, because we have had this outlet of Throwdown for so damn long that we've been able to talk about those moments within our show, obviously, and within our personal chats, the Throwdown Show chats. But at least for me, and I think Tony would agree with this, what L.A. Noire, which is like the point where the character literally started doing shit that you didn't want him to do. Like, he literally, like, the only time you ever control this character is you control the characters whenever he's solving cases. But all the other shit that goes on, like him trying to, Mac to Homegirl, the lounge singer. I'm like, yo, I didn't say do that. Looked like you had an okay family at home. What's up with this? So yeah, that was one that we just sort of like, man, come on, man, what are you doing? Don't.
I didn't press A to douchebag.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't press A to douchebag. At least they give you a choice to salute at the grave.
Since I feel like most of these moments are going to be positive ones, I'll start off, or I'll go next with the negative one, and that is one that I think a lot of people who've played this game will agree. It's Mass Effect 3, that ending. When I played that ending, I'm like, what the hell's going on? And did everyone experience this bullshit, or is it just me? And what color did you get?
What color did it get?
It was a shit show, man. It was a shit show.
That's a really good one, Carlos. That has to be at the very top of the list. Yes.
In the re-releases, does it have the DLC that they did to fix the endings? I can't remember.
Oh, I don't know. Tony wouldn't know, because he played through the remakes or the remasters or whatever they are.
Didn't they put it out on PS5 or something? Or no, was that the 4? They did
for PS5, I think.
Yeah.
Oh no, they did re-release the collection on PS5. I think it was about 2 years ago or so.
So yeah,
I don't know if they changed those endings though. If they kept it from the
Oh, Gary Swaby said the re-release does have the new endings.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there you go.
But yeah, that ending was so bad, because I mean, for me, Mass Effect 2 maybe at that point in time was my favorite game ever. And I was like, yo, the decisions that you make from 1 and 2 are going to carry over to the next, and it's going to have some crazy implications. And no, they didn't.
Let me just piggyback onto what you said, Carlos. That final mission in Mass Effect 2, where you have to select different people to do different stuff. I still haven't seen a game today that has made me that excited to actually have those type of decisions. So BioWare definitely was on to something with that series. But yeah, that's I don't know about the future of these Mass Effect games.
Yeah, it's a pretty it was a pretty bad ending, and it just got even worse after that with with a certain game that we shall not name. But yeah, Mass Effect 3 for me. I'm thinking about positive ones. BioShock 1 was definitely one of them. I mean, just that twist ending where you're like, damn, that changes everything, and you just want to go online and see all the theory. Actually, BioShock 1 and Infinite for me, both of those games, those endings, it's like I want to go online and read every single think piece about these endings, especially Infinite. One was pretty straightforward, the twist. Infinite was a lot more, crazy and dissonant in a way. So it's like you're just going checking everyone's thoughts about it, and it's crazy, man. It's some of the great best stuff about gaming where you're playing a game, you enjoy it, and the story is so good that it just makes you want to learn more about it or see what other people see about it. Yeah, it's for me.
Brett.
I mean, I'm trying to think of something other than the obvious. I mean, like, I feel like the nature of every Souls games fall into this category. The kind of getting to be on the front lines and the discovering before the wikis or any of that, before anybody knows what the hell they're doing. Like, I think that's always a really fun kind of indispensable moment. I firmly believe that a Souls game several months after release is not the same as a Souls game on release, and particularly Elden Ring, where I just it was so weird with Elden Ring. It's such a surreal moment to like sit there and be like, is this like one of my favorite games? Because that's such it's a feeling that never happens. Like, and it never happens, especially while you're aware that it's happening. Like, it's always this kind of afterwards you've had time to stew over and really think about it. You're like, oh man, I really think looking back on it, those were my favorite games. Like, bro, I knew Elden Ring was in my top 10 within like 6 hours of starting it, which is such a weird fucking experience. And then having the ability to go to the podcast and kind of speak on like help build the hype train where you tell people like, yeah, I know everybody's excited, get more excited, I guess, but also just to really kind of evangelize it and experience it along with everybody at the front. Like, man, like that shit's kind of awesome, especially in the more positive experiences. Like, it's one thing to like hate on things with everybody else. Like, I am glad that I got to bitch about Diablo, because even though I don't think anybody actually listens to me, like my voice in that cacophony helped everybody else realize like, oh, this game has shit the bed. So, but I think the positive experiences and being able to be part of that are the things that are where it's really cool to come out and herald or evangelize. There we go, and evangelize something that you're really passionate about, and having the platform to do that positively when it's relevant. Pretty cool experience, actually.
Yeah. Brian.
I don't think I've been in that situation, but the closest that I've seen has been, as you guys said, with Mass Effect 3 and that ending. It really riled some people up, and that's all I remember at the time, that there were just lots of people very upset. And
Mhm.
because I'd never played any of them, I had zero context as to why. So I initially thought maybe it was like an ending that was out of left field, or they didn't expect something. And then I seen the controversy, and it's like, ooh, now I see why people are very upset.
I mean, yes, insofar as we expected an ending, and we got a color. I know that was a twist nobody saw coming. I'll give them that.
That's the points for originality. Yeah, that's something that's gonna go, in the record books for one of the most disappointing things in video game history.
That's a
So disappointing that they course corrected with DLC like a couple of weeks after. That's the craziest thing. It's like they're like, yeah, like they didn't expect this blowback, so they're gonna do a patch to fix everything, like not too far away from when the game released.
some of the chat has said. Kishak says Days Gone. Okay, no, Days Gone was a fun week. Yeah, that's one. Gary says Metal Gear Solid 2, Mass Effect, and Cyberpunk 2077. And
Yeah,
let's see what else we got there.
GZDR says Call of Duty No Russian controversy. That's a good one.
Mhm.
That one was huge.
Yep.
I mean, it was in 2007, so it was like the early stages of the internet. But still, people were talking about this controversy in YouTube videos and the forums. So yeah, that's a good one. He says, No Man's Sky, millions of procedurally generated planets. Crackdown 3 E3 controversy. Redfall influencer hype for a crappy game. Yeah, but those aren't really moments.
Yeah.
No Russian is definitely a moment in the game,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but not the Redfall one. I would have probably been the Redfall one. The actual Redfall, the game within the game, would have probably been a thing. Like the fact that there's no cinematics in the game, or a bunch of other funky things that are going on. Metal Gear Solid 2, when Snake went back to Shadow Moses, I just got this is what from Fergus Mills. Went back to Shadow Moses. I just right online to see who shared in my joy. Yeah, that part of the Shadow Moses part was definitely a really cool, like, sort of caught you off guard if you didn't know what was coming. Just to be able to go over all those sort of the famous locations, and not to mention locations that you probably have never seen. Like there's a couple of sections later on that you don't, where you're sort of going through these conveyor belts and things, and you've never seen those areas in there. So yeah, definitely one of those crazy moments. Gary says, I hope they manage to port Metal Gear Solid 4. Yes, I hope they figure out how to get that game to work. According to Konami, and this is one thing we didn't put into one of our show notes because it wasn't that big of a deal, but according to Konami, they don't know what the volume 2 of the Metal Gear Solid collection was going to be. So I put up my listings for that on my Twitter a while ago. We'll see.
So that one should be Metal Gear 4, Peace Walker, and 5.
Yep, that's what it should be. That's what I say. Yeah, those, at least those three, and then put what is it? Portable. Oh no, and I also said put portable ops on that one, on that one for 2. So it's all the stuff that sort of completes the Kojima stories, and then what you do is you have all the rest on the next one. So you have the showstopper is Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. You put on Metal Gear Portable Ops Plus, and then you put the 2 Acid games on there, as well as Metal Gear Solid Ghost Babel, and that'll be the last one. But we'll see. What do we got next?
All right. So, second question from Mr. Mills. What are some of the worst temper tantrums / blow ups you've ever had, anything gaming related? we've kind of answered a similar form of this question, uh, but I'll go with back in my day. Back in the day, I used to play a little bit, sort of competitive online games where there's this thing called game battles. I don't know if it still exists, but it's a site where you would uh, you would play up against different teams. So, like for example, if you're playing Call of Duty, you assembled a team with you and your buddies, and then you would go to game battles, and then it'll match you up against different people, and then there you can play against each other, record the results in the game battle site, and then it'll give you you tell them you win, not, and you move up some certain rankings. So we did that for Call of Duty, we did that for NBA 2K, and we did that for Madden. And I think that was the most I've ever been mad at a game. So every time we've lost, a certain heated match and stuff like that, those were the ones where it would get me the most, heated, because I'm really competitive on stuff that I care about. So, so yeah, I would say that.
I mean, this goes back to the past of me and Tony. When we had a friend we still sort of keep in contact with, and he was incredibly good at fighting games.
Evil Chris?
Yes, the Evil Chris. So Evil Chris, like, I was pretty good at the Darkstalkers game, and he just owned me, like fucking kicked my ass, and I lost my temper and I just threw the controller. I'm like, fuck you, man. That's it. But no, that dude, here's the thing, like, that dude just like he would do fucked up shit, like where he would be like, before he was actually playing the game, right? And then he bought this crazy controller at one point that literally you could program the moves for certain things. So if you ever went against him to do like as Akuma, he had the Demon Rage all programmed into it. And that was like one of the harder moves to do. Like you'd have to do it multiple times in order to do it. But this guy just had it one button press. I'm like, oh, come on. So he could literally combo the damn thing in for himself. So you'd be like, and just do it. So
isn't maybe it's not with the same game, but I remember, I think Tony said he punched Evil Chris once because of a game.
Oh no, he didn't punch him. He punched a fan.
Oh, he punched a fan.
He pissed him off so much that he punched his fan and it destroyed it. He's like, "Arr!" Yeah. No, there's plenty of times that Evil Chris has pissed us off, but that was the one that got me. Like, it was like, fuck, this guy, man. And he never played the game. He fucking never played the goddamn game before. I've been playing it in the arcades and all kinds of stuff, so I thought it was pretty damn hot. No, man, this dude just, as soon as he touched that shit, he kicked my ass. That was the frustrating part.
I have a question in terms of the Throwdown lore. Did Evil Chris and Supreme Chris ever get to?
Oh yeah, they met each other.
Coincide?
Yeah, there was a crossing of the thing. They've met each other quite a few times, but I feel
there was
like,
a crisscross.
Yeah, it was a crisscross.
Nice.
But I would say, like Evil Chris sort of, and he had a lot of family things going on, and that's part of the reason why he sort of somewhat stopped hanging with us, because he just had a lot of family things that was going on. So like by the time sort of Chris came around, and Superior Chris came around in like the early 2000s, the other Chris was sort of, kind of was already sort of gone here or there. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we haven't talked to him in quite a long time, so we don't know. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, he does live close to where Tony's mom lives, so I'm sure he, if he ever wanted to go visit him and say what's up, I don't think most people's numbers don't usually change drastically unless they don't want to talk to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a question. I have a question for Richard Bailey Jr.
Uh-oh.
Is your worst temper tantrum playing Red Fail?
Oh, no.
No. That game is. I obviously don't recommend the game, but that's not a temper tantrum that I've had. That's a very good question. Shout out to my boy, Mr. Fergus Mills. I honestly can't really think off the top of my head of a time that I had a temper tantrum. Obviously, yeah, back in the day, we used to go to the arcades, and same thing like you said, Chris. I'm going to say, Carlos, you playing competitively against people, obviously the fighting games. I've had many of times where I've gone to the arcades back in the day and I got my ass whooped, and then I also whooped some people as well. So, yeah, I can't really pinpoint a specific moment where I got angry, though. I will continue to think about that, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. Nothing comes to mind.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like it always seems like the frustration usually came from other people. Like too many games were really just said. Not too many games really said that like got me really heated. More or less, I just get frustrated and just stop. And then come back again, and then I come back and own it. Tony was one thing about Tony is like how he would I remember I told you about the evil Chris, when he would totally own evil Chris whenever he was talking on the phone or talking to somebody else at the time. So if he's not paying full attention, he could beat Chris, evil Chris, because what it was is because the way evil Chris worked is he knew your patterns. And as he would play you, he would always see the patterns that you do, because every single fighting game person has their sort of patterns of things that they do, and he would just focus on those things. I'm like, oh, okay, then I can counter that, I can do that. But when Tony was talking on the phone or distracted, he wasn't paying full attention, so that meant that his moves were a little bit more sporadic and reactionary. So and he ended up winning more. One time I think I asked him, "Hey, dude, you ever need me to call you up while you're fighting evil Chris? You really want to win?" Yeah. What about you, Brett?
I'll be honest, I missed the question. I've been trying to figure out from context for a minute now, and I have not been able to pick it up. So what was the question?
Oh, the question was like, what was it? Now I gotta remember.
Most rage-induced moment in a video game.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I mean,
worst temper tantrum or blow up.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of those. I can tell you it was almost definitely. Oh, you know what? No, I was gonna say it was Smash Brothers, but I virtually guarantee it was fucking Monster or Mario Party. Damn Mario Party.
Really?
You're like 45. Yeah, because you're like drinking with your friends and everything is going fine, and then like 45 minutes of just killing minigame after minigame after minigame. Then you get to that end roll, and then it's like, hey, here's the start of this other guy, and another one. And another one, because go fuck yourself. That's why. Guess who won? They did. Eat a dick. And you're like, oh god, fuck you, Mario Party.
I thought you would have said Demon Souls.
But the thing with like any of the Souls games is I kind of talked about how like
that was previous.
Those are tough like in 1950s, Dad. Though they're like super tough but fair. So, like, every time I've died in a Souls game, I've been like, yeah, I see what I did wrong there. Or at the very worst, like, I don't know what you expect me to do here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And then I figure it out, and I'm like, oh, okay, that tracks.
Kishak says Mario Party ruins friendships.
Yeah, because it fucking does. Because it's this bullshit, arbitrary spite machine. Although, I do have one more. Because, oh god, it made me so mad. It was fucking Ninja Gaiden. It was Ninja Gaiden Black back in the day, right? And so you go in and you fight this. You're literally fighting an Apache helicopter, and the fight is so hard. Like it just keeps flying away, and like you have to like ricochet a missile back at it, and then it's like skirting with like a minigun fire, and it's a nightmare. It's every bit a nightmare. And then you finally get to the end of it. And I was like, oh my god, yes, I finally beat that fucking boss. And before it goes into a save point, it then rolls into an arena with like a Panzer tank. And you're like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I can't believe now I'm fighting a tank directly after fighting an Apache helicopter. And of course, it fires like tank rounds and as a minigun on top of it. And then I beat that after multiple tries, and I'm like, oh my god, like a Dark Souls boss. You're like, oh my god, I fucking did it. And like through the wreckage of the Panzer tank, I see appear 2 Panzer tanks. And I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Why is there no save point?
Oh no. By the way, you reminded me, Brett. You reminded when you mentioned Mario Party. You know what was the worst? Mario Party 6 on the 64. Not because it was a bad game, but because a lot of the mini games had to use that dumbass thumbstick that was just objectively terrible.
They still bear the scars from that thumbstick.
that thing left scars in your hands, man. The calluses, it's crazy. Yeah, that was not good.
To answer your question, GZDR, about the Psycho Mantis fight in Metal Gear, actually that didn't frustrate me. But one thing that did happen is that I didn't fully realize that you needed to switch the control port. So, but I died as I remember, I died so many times that I ended up the game event has like a contingency. It's like it says something along the lines of like, "Hey Snake, is there something wrong with your second controller port? If not," and then it essentially directs you to shoot the 2 statues on the sides of the level. And they're like, Mantis doesn't like what his face looks like. Shoot those statues, and you'll distract him long enough to be able to fight him. So that's what happened with me initially on the Psycho Mantis fight. I think there was something specifically wrong because I played it at Adam's place when I went to visit him. When the game came out. So that's about what happened back then.
What was the one? Metal Gear 4 had something similar. In one of the boss fights.
4 had the where it was a kind of like a reprisal of the Psycho Mantis fight, where you sort of had to. You didn't need to switch your control ports with it. It actually would tell you that's not going to work this time. Stuff like that.
But there was something that you had to do. Like I think your screen went black or something like that.
Both of them, the screen goes black. It says the Hideo thing on the top, like your TV was messing up. That was one thing that did get me too, because, it didn't get me when I I played it when I played it at it was interesting. So I played it the same fight at both of my home and at Adam's place. My television was an older television, and the Hideo thing didn't come across to me because I didn't have a digital a screen that had digital on-screen stuff like that looked that way. Mm-hmm. It didn't look at it was an older television where you had to press the buttons on the side to change it to channel 3 and all that stuff. His television, on the other hand, was a Sony television which had that green marker that told you what video 1 was or whatever. So on that one, when I played it at his place, I was like, oh, hey, look at that. It like that thing looks exactly the same. So yeah.
You gotta have something.
Yep.
All right. So is that it for rage-inducing moments?
Yeah.
I assume Brian's never had one.
Brian doesn't get.
I don't know
rage.
why. I just.
I actually have had a few. They've been quite funny, I have to admit. First one is Mario Kart because, well, exactly. If you know Mario Kart, then you know exactly what went wrong. somehow it seems like if you're in the first place, it's like, I don't know what you call it. It's like if you come in, or if you are in first place, you instantly just insult everyone's mothers somehow, and that's it. That's at the end of the game. So I remember there was this one race. I was about to take the final corner in first place and end up in fourth place, and that's all you need to know. And ever since then, I'm like, no, no more Mario Kart. Game's bullshit.
It's
Makes no
is
sense.
it's one of those games where it's the first loot box game where you, the the loot box gets worse with the higher level you are, or the higher um tracking you are. So if you're in first place, you get nothing. You get a banana, and you're gonna live with it.
You get screwed by everyone somehow. Yeah, and the other one was, looking back, it was hilarious, but at the time I did not find it, and that was the moment when I knew that something wasn't going well or something wasn't right. So I was playing Modern Warfare 2, the original, not the new one, and we were losing this game really badly. I think just a normal deathmatch, and we were losing it just incredibly badly. My teammates just didn't understand how guns work, and it got to the point where the enemy got the kill streak, which they got a predator missile strike, which is like this airstrike that comes from the sky and it's guided by the user. So I had just died from a grenade, so I was already in like a very angry spot. So I was like, okay, come on, I need to like focus and turn it around. So I spawn. Maybe 2 seconds after I spawn, I get killed by the predator missile strike, and that's the final kill of the game. So not only did I die, I had to watch my death in slow motion, and I just instantly just punched the cupboard that was next to me. And I was like, okay, that was an overreaction, so let me get that in check. And since then, I've just been okay. Just no matter what happens, just remember, it's a video game, and it doesn't matter. And that's how I've been. But yeah, that one still haunts me out of all my deaths in all those games. That one I remember so vividly as well.
And you make sure there's no cupboards in reach, right?
Well, luckily enough, there's none.
That's one of the games, and like I mentioned that I mentioned Call of Duty on mine, but yeah, when you get to a point, and I think the earlier games were the worst offenders, but I don't know if it got better. But yeah, like Modern Warfare 2 and all those, it's like someone gets into a random kill streak where it gets to 5 to 7 to 8 kills, and they just control the whole freaking game. They summon a helicopter, they got a UAV, they got these predator missiles, and you're not safe. You spawn, you get shot down by a predator missile. You spawn, someone passes by you and kills you because they can see you because they got a UAV and you don't got that thing that covers you from that. You spawn, and there's a freaking helicopter patrolling the whole place, shooting you down, and it's nothing you can do about it. And I feel your pain, man. I've been through that too.
However, I can tell you a funny one that I did to my friend once, which to this day I will not let him live it down because it makes me laugh so hard. So we were playing Search and Destroy, right? And usually when we play, we don't. Well, we try not to play. We try not to play together because it just makes it not as fun. So we always try and get so that it's randomized and we're on different teams at times, so we don't party up, right? So he was on the other side, and I could hear him on voice comms. So one of the things that I know about, well, firstly, for those that don't know, search and destroy is basically there's 2 bomb sites, there's 1 bomb, and one team needs to take it to the bomb site and plant it, and it explodes. And everyone has 1 life. So once you die, there's no respawning until the next round. Fair enough. So I said to myself, okay, I know a good tactic, which is that the enemy team, well, usually in Call of Duty, there's always this point where the enemy team goes into where you spawn and then you go into where they spawn because that's just how the game flow works. Like you cross paths, some people die, some people don't, and then usually end up on the other side. So I thought, okay, rather than me going all the way to where the team is, I'll I'll wait in my spawn and I'll wait in a bush, and then I'll wait for someone like walk past, and then I'll kill them. Like it's a cheap kill, yes, but at the same time, I don't care. It's search and destroy. It's meant to be like tactical and stuff. So I waited in a bush. Guy came past. I shot him in the back. Turns out that was my friend. He was very pissed off about it. I was like, "Why are you hiding in a bush, Brian? That makes no sense. Come out and fight." I was like, "Look, you died. Like it's not your fault. You didn't check your corners." And then he just went on like this massive rant. I'm like, "Okay, cool, fine, whatever." So next round, and we're in the same spawns again. So this time I said, I am not going to hide in the same bush. Instead, I'm going to leave a claymore there, and if he's dumb, he'll go and kill himself. If not, then he'll like be smart enough. So I go around the other way that I didn't go around, and then like 20 seconds in, I just see like someone died by claymore. I got points, and it was my friend again. I started to laugh so hard I couldn't play anymore. He was just so mad. He was just venting like crazy. I was like, "Dude, it's not my fault. There's a claymore there." It's like, "But Brian, you were there last time." It's like, "So I'm not there now." It's like, learn how to play the game. Oh, even to this day, it's just, it's so great. I would love to do it again, but I don't think he's going to fall for it. But yeah, you can do some fun things sometimes.
Yo, man, video games can be fun sometimes. All right, let's move on to the next question, which is from Fergus Mills, which is kind of a gaming question. He says, "What are some TV shows, anime, movies, etc., that you would consider playing a mobile game of?" He says, "I've been watching an anime called Solo Leveling, and I'm hooked. There's an action RPG mobile game about the show releasing in May. I don't play phone games, but I'm thinking I might give this a try. It does have DualSense and Xbox controller support, so I don't have to do the touchscreen crap." I don't know if there is one. The only one that I actually considered doing it, well, this wasn't even based off of manga though. Um, it was Fallout Shelter, but based off a TV show, anime, or movie, I don't know. I'm not much of a mobile guy, but I will say this: if it's something that if I play the mobile version of it, and that's the only way that I can progress the story of a certain anime that I like or whatever, then I'll probably give it a try. But other than that, if it's just a run of the mill mobile game that's based off of an IP that I love, probably not. Probably won't play any of that.
I never, yeah, like a never one of like a show or whatever hasn't really made me want to play like a mobile game. I mean, though I was, like I did download a mobile game for like reference. Like I wanted to see how they did certain things within the game because it sort of, was a part of me pitching a project for something or for a project I was working on. So I was opening up trying to use this one game. I can't even remember what it was. Maybe like is it? It could have been the one with Meliodas in it. The little short guy that has like superpowers. Is it fair? Is that Fairy Tale?
Seven Deadly Sins.
Seven Deadly Sins. Yeah, that one is. They had a mobile game, and I was looking wanted to look at how they did it on that game because the some of the cinematics in that game looked pretty good. Like they were very close to what the show looked like. Obviously the frame rate was a little bit different, but I wanted to look at the game to see how they're doing a lot of the work that they did, and and that's the only reason why I ever even downloaded that game. As I remember, it was also a free to play sort of game too. But yeah, that's the only thing. But yeah, I've never been interested in a mobile game that was connected to a show or TV. Yeah, no. What about you guys? Brett is
I know.
Brett is obviously the biggest Pokemon Go fan on the show, and
I mean, yep, it's the best. Love the Pokemon Go. I oftentimes used to sit around as a child and be like, what if Pokemon, but no video game?
Yeah. That was my biggest gripe of it. This was what, 2015, 16? The whole freaking world went crazy because I was in college during those years, and everyone was playing that damn game, and I'm like, you don't get to do anything. It's not a game. It's just, well, I mean, there
just
is some
collect.
gaming aspects of it, but yeah, you just collect Pokemon. It's like,
They
and-
did add a battle mode. Like you
They
could.
they said that they were going to. When did they finally add the battle mode?
I don't know. I know I played it for a little bit.
Okay, could you like battle other players?
It wasn't that you could
Yeah.
battle other players. At least originally, it was like the other players had their little like stakes or places, and then you sort of went there, and you could battle like a ghost of them. You know, it had all their Pokemon and everything, as I remember.
Yeah, and see, this
Oh, no.
is where kind of get a. Go ahead, Brian.
No, it was that you can battle other people, but the mechanics are just not Pokemon in general. It's basically you have two attacks, a standard attack and a charge attack. So you do your standard attack, you build your meter, and then you can unleash your charge attack, and that's it. It's
It wasn't the game.
pretty bare bones.
Okay,
Yeah.
and this is what I don't understand though. Like Game Freak, God damn it,
They didn't make
it
it.
is not.
They didn't
I
make
know,
that.
I know, but like they are in charge of the license, so it's just one of them. Like,
No, they're not.
I don't care who you-
It's Pokemon Company that's in charge of the license. They just make the games. The console games they make.
oh yeah, no, I guess that's okay. So I guess I'm directing this to Pokemon Company. Pokemon Company, God damn it, you've known what people have wanted for fucking ever. The fact that you couldn't do that, like, it's all people want to do is catch Pokemon, raid them, and then battle their friends. And this is what, like, with all the psychology we have in today's world, like, why the fuck are we backing down off of competitive play? Like, I know I'm ranting here for a second, but I feel like we got a second for this. Like, why the fuck? Like, even things like Skull and Bones. Like, you took Black Flag and you ripped out all of the good parts so you could make an always online competitive multiplayer game that doesn't have full competitive modes. You're not letting people actually be competitive, even when there's no fucking stakes. Even when it's like, oh, you died, respawn with no penalties, lols. Like, even then, you can't let people be fully competitive. It's all people want is to collect, train, and fight Pokemon. You understood this when you made the fucking game, but it feels like you've just gone out of your way to get in your own way to let that happen. It's fucking astounding. It's astounding how something like Pokemon Go like went out and just didn't have full Pokemon support. And then when it did, it's like, oh yeah, does it play like Pokemon? No. Oh, because that's a super hard formula, that Pokemon. It's only been able to run off fucking outdated Game Boys for a decade. It's fine. They had this shit nailed down in 1998. The fuck, guys? This is why Power World's like fucking stepping on your shit.
All right, let's go on to the. By the way, this is the last question of the show. So if anyone has any questions, let us know in the chat. But we have one from Kishak. Shout out to Kishak in the chat. He posted this. He says, "Question: You guys ever had an existential crisis from playing a video game? One of the most recent ones for me is Soma, and that ending made me think for quite a while. Soma, is that a Kingdom Hearts or
No,
no?
Soma
That's
is
Sora.
no. Soma's like it was a PC game that was like you sort of have these sort of revelations about robots and human consciousness and all kinds of other stuff. It's actually a very very well done game. Brian played it as I remember, right?
Yes, I did. It was really good. I severely enjoyed it. Actually, it was again. It has one of those endings where if you're not paying too much attention, you don't see it coming. But then again, it's like most endings. If you don't really pay much attention, you don't see it. But then when you do, it's like, okay, and it kind of leaves you feeling slightly bittersweet at the end. But it's still enjoyable and has lots of cool ideas. And there's like a choice you can make in like the last chapter on whether or not things go well or things go badly. And yeah, it's it definitely does make you question a few things about life and stuff like that. Again, I can't say too much without spoiling it, but yeah, it's definitely a fun game. Well, I say fun game. It's a game that makes you think.
Yeah. Huh. I have to say Near Replicant.
No.
Yeah, Near Replicant because there's a greater narrative about. There's a couple of narratives that are in there, but one of them, sort of hit close to home was just the protagonist, because he doesn't have a name, and that his sister is pretty much terminally ill. So there is the question, obviously he wants to cure her, so he spends most of his time away from her, during this, even though he's obviously sympathetic and obviously, it affects him that she is so sick, and that she keeps writing him letters and all this stuff as her condition starts to decline. And it's like there's the larger question of like, if you like, obviously there is some possibility for a cure, but is it worth going out to try to find a cure for this, or is it better to stay with her in this moment, and make the best of the time that you have with them? And yeah, I feel like that wasn't an existential crisis, but it did make you sort of think, especially like, with some personal things that have happened, in the years that in that time. It's just it definitely made just a larger question. What's the right way? What way do you go? When you have this thing that is going to happen, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Even if no matter how much you fight, no matter how much you try to do, it's still going to happen regardless. So that was one, and then also another one. Would I was also say Death Stranding too. Again, a lot of good things going on at the time when that game released, for me. And then the idea of that, at least for Kojima's world, is that we all end up on these interstellar, like, metaphysical beaches all alone, and we're not if you believe in the sort of all the a lot of what different religions believe, that you go to a place where you're with all of your loved ones, that the idea that you're stuck alone, stranded on this beach in the middle of for eternity, almost like a purgatory. And also, so I was like, wow, that sucks. Where you just end up in this blank space. You can't you could try to swim out, try to get away, but you always end up at this infinite beach, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, those are the two. And obviously there's other ones in the past, but I can't really think.
Yeah, existential crisis. I don't know if a game has done that for me. I mean, and there's definitely some where I've really had like it just really made me think, and I mean, the No Russian one, it was mentioned earlier. That's one where it's like, damn, like it really put you in the spot playing the game. It's like, like you had the choice. I don't know if it's taboo to explain what it is, but you either had the choice to do something or not, and you would talk about it with other people, saying like, did you do it? Did you do it? What did you do? Like, and in some ways that either explained a lot or probably nothing about you, but the conversation was always there. Uh, yeah, that's probably one of the closest. But nothing that's been like, oh, like it's made me rethink something, or like that hard, or made me sort of that felt close to home. I don't know if there's been that. Either there hasn't, or maybe I just don't remember. But yeah,
Brett.
I know Rich had an existential crisis when he played Redfall.
Oh no.
He's like, maybe I should stop playing video games.
No way. No way. No way. It's a good question. It's a tough question. I can't think of anything in particular recent. Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I can't think of anything because, again, when I play these games, I look at the game as a way to relax and just enjoy the experience. I don't, depends on the type of game. Obviously, when we played Mass Effect 2, there was a lot of emotions about certain characters, and then knowing that certain characters were not going to make it in the next game, yeah, you definitely feel a certain type of way. I would say the way that some of those deaths were handled going into Mass Effect 3, definitely very well done and very emotional. Because you care about those types of characters, and then you see something happen to some of them. It definitely, you feel some type of way about that. But I can't think of anything in particular of specific about this, but that's a good question for sure.
Brian.
I'm trying to think, and I guess the closest I can think of is Spec Ops: The Line, and how the whole ending of that just turns out, and it kind of flips everything on its head. Like everything that you thought was real isn't really real. It's all what happened, and the whole idea of choices and consequences, and the fact that your actions have consequences, and maybe a good solution is just to not do anything. And yeah, I think that was one of the first ones that I remember. But apart from that, I really don't remember anything else.
It's interesting about that era of games. So that when Spec Ops came out, I feel like Nier kind of came out at that same sort of time. Same thing with what was it? The other one, BioShock, where a lot of these games are sort of questioning the forward momentum of being a player, where how we sort of blindly follow the road of doing what the game tells you to do, in the idea that you're doing something good. And in a lot of those cases, it's like you're probably not doing something good. You're just doing it because the guy on the comms says, "Oh yeah, I need you to do this," and that you. But the one thing that these games have never explored that try to do those sorts of things, like even with Nier, it's like you essentially realize that you're killing off the souls of people, and you realize that after the game. But it's like the one thing about a lot of these games that try to call into question player choice is they never give you the choice to not do it. When what's his face says, "Would you kindly?" You can't disobey. You don't disobey him. you still have to go down the same line. And even with Spec Ops: The Line, you can't just walk away, can you?
I don't think you can. I've not tried it.
Yeah. I mean, there is alternate endings, by the way, to Spec Ops: The Line. There are a couple of different alternate endings, but they're not really a thing that just says, okay, you're like, you know what? I'm going to walk the other way.
Yeah. I think the only game that comes close to that is Stanley Parable, where one of the endings is literally you don't press anything and then the game ends.
Far Cry did that, didn't it?
They had like if you listen to the guy in the beginning of the game, right, where he just like, all right, I'll let you go. Game over. Near Replicant has ones. I mean, Near Automata has alternate endings where if you don't do the certain thing, and it gives you like a text ending. It's like, oh well, you did this and and then it's all over, and then it resets you back. But it's not like an ending. It still lets you go on the journey.
Well, I don't know. Like the biggest existential crisis I had from games was when I kind of moved away from first party games. I mean, like being a little bit meta here, but like the games industry as a whole has kind of been putting me in a little bit of that. Like my latest one was kind of realized that the biggest reason I don't play as many Spider-Man or God of War or any of that kind of thing, even though I play a lot of that kind of stuff, like I think the reason I kind of tend to stay away from that kind of thing these days is it's just a lack of player freedom, and I've kind of learned that I really desire the ability of choice and agency in video games, and I feel like that's something that has been slowly kind of reduced in fear of, well, if we're spending $5 billion to make that game, we're going to make sure every fucking player sees every goddamn penny that we spend. That's great, or at least that's a perspective, but I tend to like being able to find things or explore things, and that's just a different design philosophy. So my biggest existential crisis was kind of like, man, like I think I enjoy freedom and choice too much to continue along the same trajectory as the rest of the industry. And it's not me, it's the industry. I didn't change. It's that it's too expensive to try the new things like that. So the industry is going to do what the industry does, but they're not going to, run the risk of, because we saw it happening with things like Elden Ring and whatnot, where they were saying, like, how can you have a hidden area? How can you have a place where you've put resources where most, if not all, players won't see? Most players don't even finish a game, much less find the hidden area. So what's the point? Well, I mean, people like that kind of stuff. People like me like that kind of stuff. It's why, people like Baldur's Gate like that kind of stuff. But, I'm at an impasse with a lot of AAA modern gaming in that they're just not going to be able to do that. And the kind of existential crisis that came with that was like, again, it's not that I dislike storytelling or I dislike cinematic stuff. It's that I dislike a lack of freedom and agency. And I think there's a fine line that I can tolerate. And I'm sure all this is old news to Brian. He's been able to put a fine point on this thing forever. But everybody has to, make that journey on their own. So,
I mean,
you can lead a horse to water, but you can't drown it.
When it comes to this, though, I feel like you've always sort of gone, like, you've always, like, ever since our show has been on, like, you've always been that sort of person that have really liked the idea of a freedom. And, as much as everybody in the crew obviously would be like, oh, hey, this Spider-Man game is all great, blah, blah, blah. I feel like you were just like, I like it enough. You're cool to play Spider-Man, but I really like this game over here,
Well, but see, that's the thing. There was a point in which, like, we were in the same place. Assassin's Creed allows you all kinds of ways to approach an assassination. And then at some point we became, our lines became divergent. But I think it's only recently that I realized that it wasn't me who drifted away, right? Like for the longest time, I kind of thought like I changed, I got older, my taste kind of changed, but it really kind of come to the realization, like I don't think it's my taste, man. Especially going back and playing a game like Baldur's Gate again, I'm like, shit, man, this is like the exact same thing, but just a little bit better version of stuff I played 20 years ago. Like I don't think it's me. It's one of those very kind of watershed moments where you're like, you know what? I don't think it's me. I think it actually is you.
So, officially, that is the last question. Unless anybody else has any questions in the chat here. As Tony always says,
Yeah,
this is your show, so it goes on for as long or as short as you want it to go. So, yeah.
he doesn't quite rhyme it as well as you do, but yeah,
I don't know,
something like that.
I mean, so somebody else with an eye on chat. Has a lot of our audience been playing Dragon's Dogma? Like, is it because I know we have a lot of people who like a lot of. Oh, I don't mean to sound like a dick, and I genuinely mean this in the nicest way. We have a lot of people who kind of play more towards the mainstream crowd. A lot of kind of people like Tony, and I'm kind of curious how Dragon's Dogma is hitting with some of those people, because I hear it's a beautiful janky mess.
Is Dragon's Dogma a mainstream game, or is
That's what I'm trying to figure out. It kind of feels like it's a breakout mainstream game, because it was niche before, but now it feels like the mainstream is kind of flirting with it. And I kind of feel like the mainstream's like looking at this game being like, oh, is this like Elden Ring, where we heard it was kind of niche, but it ended up being a great game? And like everybody, including the people who love Dragon's Dogma, are like, I mean, hold your horses. Yes and no. I've heard it's great, warts and all, but it's definitely got those warts. So I'm like curious as to whether or not that's going to be an impediment towards greater adaptability, greater, you know what I mean, more people playing it. So I'm kind of curious as to how many people in our audience are playing this thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen that much. At least some of it I gauge on the Discord. I haven't seen as much discourse on Dragon's Dogma. Yeah, so I don't know. Let us know in the chat.
And in the meanwhile, Brian, I have a direct question for you about Dragon's Dogma.
Oh,
shoot.
Okay, so given that the last one kind of had cult classic status, whereas it had a very long life of people who loved it, people who were really passionate about it, and developers who were really passionate about it. Do you think that with that built-in fan base, that Dragon's Dogma is going to be a flash in the pan, a long, slow burn, or somewhere in between?
Good question. I think it might be a long, slow burn, because I've been seeing that there's a bit more engagement with people on Twitter than I thought there would be, and the fact that people have been talking about it quite a lot, and it's been getting high praises, I think that will give it that long burn status, and I think that is the interest that will provide the grounds for people to get into it, and then they'll see, okay, you can do this thing in game, do that thing in game, and that might bring in more people, kind of like the Helldivers effect, where they see videos of people like leaping through the air and like being dragged all around, and they're like, oh, that seems like fun. So maybe that might cause the burn to come in. I don't think it'll be a flash in the pan, because it's kind of weirdly got the people that like the original still are there and will champion it, and possibly Dragon's Dogma 2 will be used to get a bigger audience. I think the real question will be is how will Dragon's Dogma 3 be received? Because if 2 continues down this path of being received well, then that means that there's a strong chance of Dragon's Dogma 3 in the pipeline. and hence, is Capcom going to do the wise thing and stick to its guns, or are they going to turn around and say, "Oh, this is really popular. However, lots of people are complaining about XYZ, so let's tone XYZ down," and then potentially water down Dragon's Dogma 3. So,
Do you think this will have DLC between this and 3?
I think it will. Capcom have a habit of giving games DLC. I mean, I'm trying to think of a Capcom game that has not had DLC.
Oh, I can't wait for the crossover. I can't wait to play Mega Man in Dragon's Dogma.
I don't think it'll be that type of DLC. I think it'll just be an expansion, like a standard expansion, because the first one had a whole new island to explore where you fought Death, and that was hilarious because Death will just chase you down and he just touches you once and you die, and that's it. Because again, it's Death. What do you expect to happen? The cool thing is that you could fight him back, and then he'll disappear, and he'll come back with the same health as when you left him. So he will just follow you and kill you. So I think this one has a strong chance of having DLC. I would assume an expansion of some sorts. But again, I'm just not too sure what they could do with that expansion. Because I haven't played Dragon's Dogma 2 yet. It's downloading now. So I don't know what the story of Dragon's Dogma 2 is and how it's different from the first one. So hence I don't know what the DLC could be.
It's basically a remake from what I understand.
Okay, fair enough.
This is, and I believe the developer said this is fulfilling their original vision for what Dragon's Dogma should have been.
That is good, because obviously, main question since I've seen the trailer is how and why is that red dragon in the trailer? Because that brings up lots of weird questions that also are answered by playing the game. So, yeah. But yeah, I think people will just enjoy it, and it'll be very meme worthy of, hey, here's some funny moments in Dragon's Dogma 2 type thing. Because I've already seen a few where they've just been crazy. Just stuff that I never thought you could even make in games. For example, this one guy was crossing a space in a canyon using some like wooden cart on like a rails, and then it's manually powered. So as he was doing that, a griffin appeared, and griffins have this attack where they dive bomb the player. So obviously they dive bomb the shack breaks because it's made of wood, and then all the characters fall down and die.
Yep.
It makes sense given, like, yeah, that's how the rules of the world would work, but in most games you don't expect that to happen, because most games, like, when you're doing that, it's just a transition between levels. There's no danger for the player in most cases like that. Whereas in Dragon's Dogma, it's like, no, you're in danger all the time. Again, kind of like a Dark Souls type thing, where it's like there's no real safe spaces. It's just kind of like good luck.
Dragon's Dogma is like when you play a Monster Hunter game or any other game where they're talking about like, oh, it's dangerous between settlements and blah blah blah, and you're like, bro, I have been through here 30 times. I have not seen a single goddamn bad thing. Like, Dragon's Dogma is the world that you think that they're explaining. Where like you're like, nah, it'll be fine. Then you take like 10 steps outside of camp, and you're like railroaded by a fucking basilisk or some bullshit. Like, it's just, the danger level is almost absurd. From what, if it's anything like the old Dragon's Dogma, you're like, yep, all right, here I go on an adventure. Immediately mobbed and carried off by wolves. Like, it's just, I don't even want to say it's like Dark Souls. It's almost comedic. So I'm looking forward to this game. Also any game where I could be a wizard and cast fireball at literally everything, but this game just seems ridiculous.
Oh, Brett, it goes even better. Like, not only can you cast just a standard fireball, you can cast meteorites, and that's plural.
Oh, I mean, damn, that's sold right there. Like, cool. And I also heard there's like a class where you can like get monsters to fight each other, which sounds really cool. Oh, Brian, there's a thing I wanted to point out to you and other people listening. Like, because there are no quest markers in this, some quests can be incredibly hidden. I was watching a review where a guy was talking about how he bought a potion from a guy, and then the guy handed him the potion, and the wife walks by and says, "Oh, you gave him the wrong one," which then started him talking about how bad his eyesight was, which started up a quest chain for him to go like find a potion to help this guy with his eyesight, which would never have happened if he didn't happen to like buy a potion from the guy. So the game really encourages you to immerse yourself and live in the world as opposed to try and Ubisoft the game. And I think that's the thing I'm most excited about. Like, this game feels like the antithesis of Ubisoft's direction. Like, is there map markers? No. Are there quest markers? Vaguely. Can I at least tell who's got a quest? No. How do I know if I'm completing the area? You don't. Like, I swear to God, this game will be Tony's nightmare.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. The first one was very much like that, where you just don't really get quest markers. I remember that there was this one quest that I got to get to some place and talk to some merchant guy, and I really had no idea where the merchant guy is. So I spent, I think, 2 days just wondering what map was available. And then eventually I did come across him because, again, I just checked every single inch of that game. But yeah, it's just, ugh. And then this other one, I remember that there were golems that I had to destroy to free this person's village. And usually in the game, they'll say, okay, there are 3 golems located here, here, and here. You go to each map marker, and that's it. The game was like, okay, there are 6 golems. They are located somewhere in this region. We're not going to tell you where. And to make things easier for you, we're going to flood the map with fog. And yeah, good luck. Have fun. And, you know, it's like, oh, cool. So I'm just meant to go and find these random things.
Go left at the big rock kind of situation.
They actually did have a section like that where the directions was you go to this place and then you turn left up a hill. And it's like it's a cliff face. It's all hill. Well, yeah,
I kind of love those.
And that's what I mean by like these are the type of games that make things interesting, and it has one of the ideas that for the most part I see people sort of annoyed at, but I like because it adds to the immersion and the sense of urgency. Is your side quests have effectively time limit on them, so if you end up in a situation where you just take on lots of side quests, some may expire and then you can't do them.
Well, yeah, but it also helps to read them. If you have one that's like, oh, my brother's being torn apart by wolves, don't do that one tomorrow. I love how we've all kind of gotten used to that idea, like, the princess, she'll be fine for another 100 years. I got some fishing to do. And then, like, but I will tell you, I've kind of been learning the same lesson with Baldur's Gate. Apparently in Baldur's Gate, you can't just take a long rest to recover your HP whenever you need to. Because you'll be like, oh no, this villa is on fire and there's goblins trying to break in. I better long rest before I go into battle. You long rest and then come back and everybody's dead. You're like, oh. Yeah, I guess I did just go to bed for 8 hours, but like, I'll be back in the morning. That probably doesn't fly real well. Okay. Fuck me. So yeah, I love that that's making a comeback. I think that not having time limits on certain quests doesn't make sense.
By the way, a quick question from GZDR. In Wolfenstein, do they give you the option to kill Hitler or capture him? Or is that or is that a choice? I never beat the game. I never beat the game either.
The original one?
You guys? Yeah, the original. I'm guessing it's the original one, right?
No, you kill him.
Because that's the only one that has. That's the only one that has Hitler on it, right?
Yeah, you kill him. But somehow but you know, they put him in the new order and all that sort of stuff. Now there wasn't really that much choice in those games. I feel like a lot of times when it comes to those type of games that they just sort of those sorts of games, they're looking to tell one specific story, and that's about it. You know.
Right. But yeah, that's all of the questions.
What was it? There was another one by GDR about how do you feel about the COD No Russians one that I put in there.
How do you feel about the games like COD No Russian that keeps you from getting a platinum if you choose not to play the level? If it may have been patched now, but not then. I actually don't remember. I guess because I didn't. Well, I didn't play it on PlayStation.
COD.
So.
Yeah.
I swear that you could bypass it and it allowed you to still get the platinum. Again, unless it was patched early on, because I definitely remember when I played it. Again, I can't recall at what point in time, but it definitely did say that you could skip it and won't affect you getting the platinum. So maybe there was a time when that was the case. And if that was the case, then that's bullshit.
Was the trophy called No Russian or trophy / achievement? Because if it is, that's something I can verify because I played the game when it came out. So let me see. Check real quick. How do you check achievements?
Did you skip it?
Well, I didn't do anything. I didn't shoot anybody. I don't know if that I just went through the mission without killing anybody. So would that be considered skipping it?
No, I mean there's like literally legitimately a thing that just tells you like you can skip this thing.
Oh, really? I actually didn't know that. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. There we go.
Maybe it was a patch in general. Like all of that was a patch in general. I don't know. I don't remember if that was a day one thing either. But again, I never played it.
Because usually with the Call of Duty games, the trophies are relatively simple. It's a case of you get a trophy for each mission, and then there's a trophy for doing something in that mission in a special way. And then you have your difficulty and miscellaneous ones. And I don't think that level even had a trophy because I'm going through the list of the trophies and I got platinum because I was like, okay, let's actually get this game over and done with, and fuck that game's platinum. It was the worst. Spec Ops was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't have an achievement for that mission. I don't know if that resolves them, but yeah.
I mean, like one.
But I don't know if there might not have been one, like Brian said.
I can't seem to find it because I'm looking at the mission names or the mission trophies, and none of them seem to refer to
that mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at them too. There's actually not a lot of. I'm looking at achievements. There's actually not a lot of achievements in this game, like relative to other games that have like tons.
But
a game.
But like progress locking things like that. I don't know if there's. I don't remember very many games that would allow you to sort of skip the thing and then you still get the achievement. I mean, granted, a lot of games don't do something so, things that are so offensive that would mean they would essentially give you the option to change it to skip around it. But
okay, I'm on PSN profiles, which is usually my go-to, and it's saying that there is no trophy associated with this mission, and even if you skip it, you still can get all the other trophies.
Oh, okay. So there you go.
Yeah. However, it does again. This is based on the guide. It does say that it is the best chance to unlock a certain trophy with a Rhine shield, but it's not the only chance.
Okay.
So I guess take that as you wish.
All right. So there you go. So yeah, that's it for Throwdown Your Questions. Does Does anybody have any plugs or anything? I am Negans or any of those other things going on? Rich?
Yes, the award-winning The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, Carlos's favorite show of the year. We will be reviewing the next episode on our I Am Negan podcast. Stay tuned for that. If you have been watching the show, we definitely have some thoughts on the next episode. So look for that sometime later this week. Aside from that, there's quite a bit of reviews that you're going to start to see on the website as well. We still have the Dragon's Dogma 2 review coming, Rise of the Ronin, and then there's a few other things. So stay tuned to the website. But that's pretty much it for right now.
All right, good stuff. So Brett, when is your convention going to be happening? Mr. Murdoch.
Damn you button. It's happening the 4th of the 6th, so next weekend.
Oh yeah, so next weekend. So yeah, that give
Or
a little.
Excuse me, 5th, 6th, and 7th.
5th, 6th, 7th. So give a little more detail on that. Where are you going to be?
Okay. So to anybody interested, I will be at the Divine Intervention Tattoo Convention located at Union Hall in Kansas City, Missouri, on April 5th, 6th, and 7th. It is, I think they said it's an invitational only. So pretty excited to go. We get a fancy, swanky food bar, and actually seems like a convention that cares about its artists, which is a pretty different change. So I'm looking really forward to kind of going and schmoozing and tattooing and maybe even entering a competition or two. We'll see how froggy I feel, but looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun time. So keep an eye out for there. You could find my Instagram at Brett Murdoch Tattoo, although that might be changing soon. We'll see. And keep an eye out for me there. Post videos and photos of tattoos, as well as convention updates and open booking. So follow me there. Catch me at the tattoo convention. And guess that's that.
Oh yeah. Good stuff. So yeah, that's it for this episode of Throwdown Your Questions. I was your host, Emilio Lopez, and I was joined by Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
Brian Manjoma.
Later, people.
And Mr. Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good week, everybody.
All right, guys. See you next Thursday. Latest.
Peace.
Watch Shogun.